Perfect. Okay, I'll take that.
All right. Well, I'm going to attempt to get this meeting started then. Let's see. Ta-da. Welcome to Online Presenters Toastmasters. This is the club that focuses on learning skills for better webinars and online events. I do want to mention that we do have a series of educational workshops coming up on September 11th, October 9th, and I forgot to put the date in there, December 11th. I was doing this just before we got on the meeting. So Johnny Campbell is an accredited speaker, so he's in the Toastmasters Hall of Fame. He'll be giving his presentation on how he uses webinars. Darren LaCroix, who's a former world champion of public speaking, who runs a Stage Time University program, will be doing something similar in December, giving us, again, his take of a very accomplished public speaker, of how he's adapted to speaking online. And John Hayden is somebody I've followed for years as a social media marketing consultant. He specifically does workshops for nonprofits, particularly about how to use social media as a fundraising and public relations tool. He does a weekly live show on Facebook Live that I know Chris Gold tuned in for also. So he's going to come to us and talk a little bit about how he's used Facebook Live professionally. So I think that's going to be very cool.
And OBS he uses. That's
right. So the default Facebook Live experience is just something that you do from your phone, but you can get software that allows you to do more broadcast quality stuff from that. So I don't know if you guys have actually experimented with that yet, but
I just loaded it and I'm starting to play with it. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
All right. So these guys are going to be our pros telling us about it very soon, I'm sure. This meeting will be recorded. That's our default policy, is that we record our meetings, and we do use excerpts from the videos and stills as part of our public relations and social media outreach from time to time. If you do something horribly embarrassed and you want us to burn the video, destroy all the electrons, you just let us know. We'll be respectful about it. Thank you to Ring Central. They, as I mentioned, are allowing us to use this online meetings environment at no charge. They also want me to let you know that they are winning the cloud for communications in a number of different modes, including online business phone service and collaboration tools. We encourage you to use some sort of headset, or at a minimum use some kind of earbuds. I use earbuds and a desktop microphone, but use something that allows us to prevent audio feedback in the system if you can. And we don't charge very high dues, so invest some money in some lighting, some sound for your office and your computer setup. We encourage you to mute your mic when it's not your turn to speak. There is a mute, unmute button in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. You can also turn your video on and off, but in general, we do want to be able to see you. And there is also, there are two different modes. There is a speaker mode and there's a gallery mode where you see everybody. So you can toggle between these with the buttons in the upper right-hand corner. And I'm going to skip past this slide if I can. Hey. Oh, let's see. How to become a member. We have at least one person visiting for the first time. We ask you to at least come to 2 meetings as a guest, and then you make a short speech about why you want to join, why you think the club would be good for you and you'd be good for the club. This is considered an advanced club, so by default, we're looking for people who have at least 6 Toastmaster speeches under their belt. We can waive that requirement if people have other relevant skills or experience. With that, let us do it. And that actually is our meeting theme, as a matter of fact. I'm going to pass control of the meeting over to Richard, our Toastmaster of the day. And Richard, that means you will have, if you look in the participants panel, you'll see a button that says mute all. which you can use if there are audio problems as we go along. Richard, you have the con.
Well, thank you. I don't see that button, and I don't think I'll need it, but thank you, David, and welcome, everybody. David roped me into being Toastmaster last week, but actually I've been looking forward to it all day today. I've chosen the theme for tonight's meeting to be just do it. We've all heard that phrase. Nike, the footwear manufacturer, really coined that phrase, but it's something we should incorporate into our everyday lives. Just do it. Stop procrastinating. Just do it. It's relatively easy. When somebody tells you you can't, yes, you can. Many of us have. Just do it. I'm kind of envious of Chris and Jim when I read your biographies and what you guys do. You've got it figured out. You're just doing it as you travel around the country conducting seminars and webinars. It's a beautiful concept that maybe Lori and I should clone. All right, I'm so excited about tonight's meeting, and we just have to do it relative to a team of functionaries that are going to take us through this evening's meeting. And I'd like to introduce them one by one, and we'll hear what their role is and what they do tonight. How about our first functionary, the timer, Lou Brown? What does the timer do?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, as timer, I'll be keeping track of everyone's timing on the various speeches, table topics, and evaluations. All have different timing parameters, which I will share with you once we get to those segments of the meeting. I'll share a report with everyone at the end of the meeting. Mr. Toastmaster.
Good, thank you. We also have we call it an ah counter in our brick and mortar club, but we call it an ah counter here. Lorena, what does the or the ah counter do?
Well, as the ah counter, I'm going to count all the ahs, and I'm also going to count the ers and the ums, and so on. So that's what I'm going to be doing tonight. I'm going to be listening for those vocal bits that are fillers that are not necessary when you're speaking.
Good. Thank you very much. How about a grammarian? We have a grammarian at this meeting, hopefully with a word of the day. What does the grammarian do?
Yes, I signed up because I got your email that said just do it. I said, okay, I'll take a job. So grammarian, I will be listening for lively language and correct grammar. I will also be listening for incorrect grammar. At the end, I'll give a report. The incorrect grammar I will mention without reference to the person's name, and the lively language will be named. The word of the day, to go with our theme for the night of Just Do It, I've picked the word spontaneous. Spontaneous means it's not planned, but done because you suddenly want to. The audience burst into spontaneous applause. So I'll make note of when people use that word of the day, spontaneous.
Great, thank you, Chris. We also have a watcher tonight. Viviana, what does the watcher do? Viviana, is she with us? I'm looking around the Hollywood squares. Where is Viviana? I thought I saw her. In her absence, does anybody want to step up and be the watcher tonight? Hello?
I think I could do that in addition to doing
What does
the
the
chat
watcher
monitor.
do?
We're going to hear from David in just a minute.
Oh, actually, well, I nominate you, Jim. The watcher is basically a body language monitor, but in addition to body language, it's kind of limited here. You'd be looking for anything about the visual presentation that you would note for either praise or suggestions for improvement.
Okay, you're talking about me then, right? Right, Dave?
Yeah, Jim.
Okay.
Whoops. See, I was nominating. I was trying to throw that to Jim Gold, actually, but.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's what I'm asking. I know there's more than one Jim.
Yeah. Not used to that. Sorry.
I'm completely used to that. That's how.
Jim Gold, you going to be our watcher?
Yeah, sure. I'll do that.
Okay, what does the watcher do?
I'm just going to be watching for just the regular whatever's going on the big screen, I guess.
All right, great.
Is it limiting to
The person that has the focus?
just the person that has the focus, or is that looking at the Hollywood squares too?
watch everything watch everybody for everything. If that wasn't spontaneous, I don't know what was.
Well, I'll be watching mostly the big screen.
Okay, great. And how about a vote counter tonight? Magda, what does the vote counter do?
Very spontaneous here. I want to know how many people are in our room because I need to count the votes. And don't be lazy and not vote because I will catch you out. How many people do we have in the online room today?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
19.
19.
19.
18. Please cast your votes to Magda directly on the chat box. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Well, thank you very much. And last but not least, from our functionary team, we have David as the chat monitor. What does the chat monitor do, David?
Well, for one thing, because you're going to be very busy running the meeting, I'll be keeping track of whether anybody's heckling you in the chat. And I will relay important things that you need to know and keep track of helpful things that people may have shared in the chat discussion as well at the end of the meeting.
Great. Well, thank you. In the last couple of weeks, we haven't heard from the functionary roles at the end of the meeting very often. I'm going to try and get through this meeting tonight in a timely fashion so we can hear from the functionary reports. Tonight, we have 3 exciting speakers and 3 ambitious evaluators behind them. Tonight's first speaker is Adrian Williams. Adrian is going to be presenting, I think from the CC manual, The Entertaining Speaker, a Dramatic Talk. Adrian has over 20 years of experience in the financial services industry. She's a past corporate controller for a Fortune 500 company. She's an auditor. Her clients included Miami-Dade County, the City of Miami, Florida Memorial University, and many more. Let's hear from Adrian.
Thank you. And I just need to make one correction. That was supposed to be the Entertaining Speaker Manual, project number 3.
Okay, got it.
Sorry about that. And I did update it on the agenda, but you may not have that version. Okay. The title of my speech is The World of Dating. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, the world of dating is just nothing like what you probably experienced when you were dating. How many of you have had to go on a date, either online or in person? If you have, could you just show your hand that you have?
Sure.
Okay, we have some people who've gone on a date. That's awesome. The dating experience has changed from what you knew. It used to be a point where we would court. You would meet someone, you'd express your interest in that person, and you would go through a process of one date to another date or a different experience until you got to the point to decide if that person was someone you wanted to marry. Well, the dating world has changed a little bit now. In the modern society, marriage and being with the one person doesn't have to be the goal. My goal could be, I just need some entertainment for tonight. I'm hungry, I need a meal. It could be a social thing. It could be any option that you choose. So one of the things that's interesting about that is because dating is now online and you can go to dating agencies as well, like It's Just Lunch, Great Expectations. Dating online would be things like Match.com, Christian Mingle, OkCupid, and there's several more. When you go on those dating sites, you really learn more about the person, I feel, because everyone has a profile. And on the profile, it's going to say what they do, what type of pets they like, their personality, as far as their sign, their zodiac sign, and you could tell a lot by a person just from a zodiac sign. And that will help you to figure out what type of personality is going to show up on your date before you go. So those things can be very important. In my experience, it's been a journey. The world of dating has been exhausting. The people are just random, and it's hard to tell what their objectives are. So what I decided to do, I couldn't decide whether to do a speech or to do a PowerPoint. So since our theme is to be spontaneous and just do it, I think I'll do a little bit of both. So I am going to now share my screen with you and share you show you some of the options that you have in today's dating world. The world of dating. You have things like Match, Tinder, Christian Mingle. You can even have atheist groups. There's even the gay, lesbian, transgender dating sites. You name it, they have it. If you're Jewish, you can go into a Jewish site. You can go into all types of sites. Once you decide on what site you're going to do, you download the app on your phone. Now, when you do that, your phone is going to look like this. There's Bonfire, Tinder, swipe left and right, Meet Me, Booty Shake is even one. If you just want to get together for a hookup, that's what Booty Shake is. You get together and you shake your booty. In the bed, of course, not on the day. So you name it, they have it. On my phone, I have downloaded one of the apps. It is right here, which is the OkCupid. When you go into the actual app, you'll find that there are lots of people. It actually pulls people from a radius. So if I want to find someone right down in my community, I just have to select 5 miles. There's no more going out to a club at a bar. Nope, I just pull out my phone and say, I think I want to go get some coffee. Let me look on my phone, find somebody in my neighborhood, and we can meet at the local Chili's right up the street, also within 5 miles. It's gotten very interesting. But now you have to wonder. Evidently, my little slide is very sensitive. Sorry about that. Now we are back on track. You have to wonder now that you have the selection of guys, what kind of guy do you attract? Is it going to be a player? Is he just trying to entertain you so he can get what he wants at the end of the night? Are you dealing with a mama's boy who's still stuck in his adolescent years and think he's a teenager and catering to his mama like she's her man? Or the non-committers. These are the men, they just won't commit. Whatever you want to do, they will entertain you. They will take you out. They will go to functions with you and everything. But they will not commit. You will not be getting married. They will not be giving you a ring. They don't want to be committed. They just want to be in the moment. Be spontaneous is what they say. Don't worry about tomorrow. Just worry about today. And then you have the fabulous dreamer. Now, how do you know? This is an example of a question you can ask these men to find out who you're dating. Your man gets a bonus at work. What does he do with it? Does he A, deposit the money in his bank account and then he still shares it with his parents? B, does he invest in a startup business? C, does he leave it in his wallet till he decides how he wants to spend it? Or D, does he use it to buy presents for all the ladies in his life? Now, you will be waiting for the perfect man forever based on these people. So you have to be very clear on what your message is with these people. Because the dating world and the world of dating, can you see me?
Sure.
Can you see me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, the dating world and the world of dating has changed phenomenally. It's not what it used to be. It's just going with this person to this place. You have a good time. You may go on the second date, but let me warn you. If you meet these people online and you go out on a date with them more than 3 times, there's a little code on the dating world. If you, after the 3rd time, they want to have sex. So if you don't like the person and they're not moving in the direction that you're going in, you need to quickly be done with them by the 2nd date because you don't want to put yourself in that situation on the 3rd date. So if you don't know, this is some of the new trends that we're learning in the dating world. So you need to educate yourself. Don't sit at home and be alone though. Just learn the game. Understand what you need to do to operate in this world of dating. Fellow Toastmasters.
Oh, Adrian. Wow. Thank you for that one. We all loved looking at your phone home screen and all the apps you have there. Be interesting to note that Lori and I met on Match.com 10 years ago. Probably do a speech on that himself. Okay, we have speaker number 2. Graham Cairns. He's going to speak from his Competent Communication Manual number 6, Vocal Variety. The name of his speech is The Buddha and the Beggar. Graham wanted me to say that one of the benefits of learning about great myths and legends is the lessons they have for us about the human condition. From the Buddhist tradition, Graham Cairns today will present The Buddha and the Beggar, which raises a number of questions about the universe and our place in it. Graham.
It might help if I turn the microphone on. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. There's a beggar, a homeless man. He's young, his life before him, but whenever he does, he can never seem to get more than 8 possessions from his clothes, his shoes, his begging bowl, the food. And if he does manage to get more than 8 possessions, a mouse comes along at night and eats some of his food to bring him back to that 8. He says to the mouse, look, I understand, brother mouse, that you need food, but why do you take it from me instead of from a rich man who wouldn't notice? And the mouse says, well, that's because, squeak, squeak, you're only allowed to own 8 possessions. Only 8? Why is that? I don't know. Maybe you should ask somebody who does, like the Buddha. Well, a homeless beggar thinks to himself, I'm homeless, I'm a beggar. There's no point staying here. I might as well go and check this out. So off he heads. Late at night, comes across a house. He's thinking, it's cold, it's wet, I'm going to have to just sleep in the shed. But the merchant who lives in the house sees him and says, no, come inside. You can't stay out in the shed. Join my wife and my daughter and I for a meal. Where are you heading so late at night? And he says, well, I'm heading off to see the Buddha to ask him about my destiny. What is my destiny and why? And the man says, well, that sounds like a great idea. Here, have some food, have a place to stay. This is my wife, this is my daughter. She's 16 and has never spoken. We don't know why. Hey, if you're going to see the Buddha, could you ask him why our daughter does not speak? And he says, of course, I'd be glad to. Heads off the next morning, no dramas. Comes across a mountain range. Thinks, ooh, getting across this mountain range is going to be a bit difficult, but there's an old wizard there with a big staff. And he goes, oh, young man, where are you heading to? I'm off to see the Buddha. I want to find out about my destiny. What is my destiny and why? Well, let me give you a hand because these mountains are hard to cross. And the wizard thumps the staff and they lift it up and they float across the mountains and they don't have to walk up and down and up and down and up and down. They get to the other side. And then the wizard says, so where are you going again? I'm off to see the Buddha. Can I ask if you would ask him a question on my behalf? I'm 1,000 years old. All of my teachings tell me that I should be able to ascend to heaven and yet I cannot. Can you ask the Buddha why I cannot rise above? And the young man says, yeah, no problem. I'd be happy to do that. Keep going a little further. They come across a giant river. It's probably the Ganges in India, because that's where the Buddha is, don't forget. And he thinks getting across this river is going to be a bit difficult. Along comes a giant turtle. Hello, young man. Where are you going? I want to get to the other side of the river. Well, hop on my back and I'll take you. So the turtle takes him across the river. And when they get to the other side, the old turtle says, so why are you going across the river? I'm going to see the Buddha. I want to find out what is my destiny and why. And the turtle says, if you're going to see the Buddha, can you ask him a question for me? Yes, certainly. What's the question? Well, I'm 500 years old and I have always dreamed I could be a dragon, and yet no matter what, I always remain a turtle. Why do I remain a turtle? He says, I'll ask that for you, no problems. Wanders across, comes across the Buddha. The Buddha says, young man, I see you have questions. I will allow you 3 questions, but only 3. And the young beggar thinks to himself, crikey, this is a problem. I've said that I will ask these 3 questions on behalf of the people who have helped me along the way. If I don't ask my question, I'll never know what my destiny is. But that's all right. I did say I would do that. The turtle needs to know how to become a dragon. That's his one great passion. The wizard has waited 1,000 years to ascend to heaven. If I don't ask, he'll never know. And the young girl, she will go throughout life without ever speaking. That would be a tragedy. I can live with being a beggar. I've lived with being a beggar so far. So he asked the question about the turtle and about the wizard and about the girl. The Buddha says, the turtle merely needs to let go of his shell. He needs to step outside his comfort zone and he will become a dragon. The wizard is being held to earth by that magic staff. He doesn't know it, but if he lets go of that possession, then he will be able to ascend to heaven. And the young girl will speak when she meets her one true soulmate. And the young beggar says, thank you, Buddha. I did have a fourth question, but you did say 3. We agreed to that. That's fine. Thank you, your holiness. And he goes back. He sees the turtle and he says to the turtle, you merely need to come out of your shell. You need to just do it. You need to be spontaneous and let go of your shell. And the turtle says, I'll give it a try, and steps out of his shell and poof, turns into an amazing dragon. He goes, this is truly amazing. I have become a dragon. He reaches a claw in and pulls out a bag of pearls that were in his shell all this time. He says, I'm now a dragon. I no longer need these. Here, young man, you take these. You need no longer be a beggar. The young man thinks, crikey, that's great. And the dragon flies off. Young man, with his bag of pearls, goes off and he meets up with the wizard. And he says to the wizard, the Buddha says you merely need to lay down all of your possessions, including your magic staff, and you will be able to ascend to heaven. And the wizard says, well, I'll give it a try. Lays down his staff and suddenly ascends up to heaven, as he knew he was going to. Or after all of these years, the young man thinks, all right. So he picks up the staff, stamps it, gets carried across the mountains to where the merchant and his wife and the girl are. And he goes and says, the Buddha said that your daughter will speak when she, and before he can finish, she says, what did the Buddha say? When could I speak? And of course, everybody is amazed because now she can speak. And the young man continues, he said, you would speak when you meet your true love, your soulmate. And she looks at him and says, I think I already have. Well, the lesson of this story, ladies and gentlemen, is fairly obvious. If we wish to be a dragon, if we wish to go beyond that which we are, we need to let go of the shell that is keeping us comfortable. If we wish to rise to great new heights, we have to be willing to lay down all of our possessions and just do it. And if we wish to get ahead, if we wish to really, really achieve things, we have to think of others and put them before us. If we do, then true love will follow. Those are the lessons. But there is one other lesson that I might say, ladies and gentlemen. We still don't know why the young man was only ever allowed to have 8 possessions. And we never will know the answer to that question, because some things there simply are no answers to. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Graham, for that story about a turtle just for the shell of it. Number 3, tonight. Carol McCullough, speaking to inform. Number 1, a speech to inform. The name of her speech tonight is The Future of Online Training. Let's hear from Carol.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. First, a small correction, just so that our evaluator doesn't have a conniption fit. It is Project 2. I thought that it would be best fitting for my speech tonight, and it's resources for informing.
Okay.
And I have sent to Mahi in the chat the evaluation guide. So I thought that was the simplest way to get around that little problem.
Got it.
So I will stop sharing there and begin my speech now, Mr. Timer. Toastmasters, I have something on my mind, and I have been wanting to share it with many people. First, let me ask you a question. What would you do if online training was available for all Toastmasters? Shock, horror. My goodness, what brave words this woman speaks. But I thought today, Richard, just do it. Don't be afraid. Let's just go down that path for a short time this morning and investigate how that might occur. I'm going to share with you at least one of my future models. Depends on the time. So I need to now go through my list here at the top and just pick up the timer, Mr. Lou, so that I can see you. Where are you? I've lost you. Whoa, there's so many here today. Oh, there you are waving at me. Thank you so much. I like that very much. What I'd like to do is give you a little background on why online training is so important for us in the online clubs. We have had our online clubs meeting for several years now, and we know that we are undistricted. Yeah, we take that on board. We get it. But online training is still needed by our leaders in the online clubs. So how could we do that? So one of the things that we did do is we set up a little action team, and several of those people are with us today in this very room. We have Lois, we have Jimmy, and myself. And there are a couple of others who are not here today. Our goal was to investigate what it is that the online clubs want for online training. So we did a survey. We then took on board the analysis of that survey, and that only happened quite recently. There were 28 online club executives who gave responses to the questions, and that gave us a clue as to what we need to advise for the training. Let me share with you now my slide that shows you some of those results. So I'm just going to flick over to beautiful PowerPoint and share with you again. And bear with me as we battle with the technology. And share screen. So forgive that little hiccup. This often happens when you're passionate about something and you want it to happen quickly, and no, it just doesn't go there. So we discovered that the top 4 reasons for online club executives or members to participate in online training included the following. Learning new technologies for your role, number 1. Not rocket science. Number 2, networking with other club officers from other online clubs. Number 3, sharing your own ideas. And number 4, presenting a learning session. All right, this prompted me to then look at what were the top 4 requested training topics in all of that. And here they are. Again, no real surprises in my mind. Pathways preparation, number 1. Number 2, membership growth and retention. Number 3, meeting roles for online clubs. And number 4, club officer roles and responsibilities for online clubs. From there, I developed a little model. Now, it's a little hard for you to read all of the detail of my little Poplet brainstorming file. But what I needed to do was to visualize what it could look like if we had online training for online clubs. And I've come up with an idea that you might like, and one that you can take to other clubs. Online workshops that could be done in your normal scheduled meeting time with 3 or maybe more educationals that are interactive and plenty of time for everyone to participate. Let me unpack that a little bit for you. What would be in it for the online clubs? Why would they come? You could, in fact, attract them to having regular monthly training. Thank you, Lou. You could develop a whole slew of ideas for club action projects that would improve. And it could be exemplars for WHQ, but more about that another day. What's in it for the trainers? Opportunities to design and deliver 20-minute educational interactivities. Exactly what this club is all about. I'm assuming that's a green colour over there, Lou. What's in it for online members, the participants? Well, they get to attend, to network, to liaise, to implement, and reflect and report back. It would be fabulous if we could do that as an inter-club activity online. We need resources, and we could actually build an accessible online digital library of training tools. But you would say, well, we've already got that. Thank you, Lou, that is yellow. And we could, of course, have your online training team continue to help with this whole process, but more about that another day. This, very briefly, is the online training model for a district. In my District 73, we cover South Australia, Victoria and Tasmania. And many of our clubs are disadvantaged by travelling distances and the cost of doing so to attend training events in capital cities. We do need ongoing training opportunities, not just the 2 days. And there have been requested alternatives for club members to attend relevant and high standard training from their own desks. That would be cool. We would really like that. So this little training model popped up, and this is actually in action now. I wanted to go on and explain more of this detail for you, but being a Gemini and wanting to be spontaneous, I do want to be able to extend this whole idea in another speech for you at another date. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Carol. All of these speeches tonight were 5 to 7 minutes long. Mr. Timer, was everybody within time?
Yes, Mr. Toastmaster, everybody qualified.
Great, and everybody is eligible. If you will take a minute in the chat box and cast your vote for who you think delivered the best speech tonight, and send that to Magda, if you would. And while you're doing that, to keep this ball rolling, I want to introduce our table topics master tonight. Again, her and I met on Match.com, and if I slide back here, she's about 20 feet away from me in the other room. Lori Doherty is our table topics master tonight. She comes to us from Homestead, Florida, again, 20 feet away. This week in the office next to me. Lori loves table topics as it challenges people to think on their feet and speak spontaneously. Let's hear what Lori's got in store for us tonight.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster Richard. I have one point of clarification for the process. Am I asked Sri to give a 1 to 2 minute speech, or is that next week?
This is his first time visiting, I believe. So
I can do.
Okay, so next
I can do as well.
That's being spontaneous. Just do it.
All right, so go ahead and so Sri, doing table topics, 1 to 2 minutes. Tell us why you would like to join this online Toastmasters club.
Okay, so why would I like to join the club? Okay, number one, I've been a past Toastmaster in the offline world like many years, more than 10 years ago. So I know the environment and the support environment and the structure, and it gives a platform to speak. It gives a platform to get feedback. It's also a platform to network. It's also a platform to make business connections if you have some business offer. And on top of all of them, it's more like convenient. You know, I can just stay in a home, and those are all the benefits for others and me. So it's very mutually beneficial. And what else? What else? It gives a platform to also find your own voice. Back 10 years ago when I was doing I was very technical, but now I am a different person and different skill set. So that gives a different skill set and background. And learning from others is a very good thing. And I'm assuming everybody's in the same purpose. Like everybody wants to improve, everybody wants to connect. Whatever their purpose is, by joining, I think we all can improve ourselves. Thank you. Listeners.
Going back to the theme of just do it, what is one thing that you wish in your life you had just done it? One thing you wish you had in your life you had just done. Norman.
To me, sorry.
Norman.
Okay, thank you.
Norman.
One thing in my life that I wish I had just done it. I think that I have spent an awful lot of time trying to start a number of entities, whether they be businesses or organizations. And I've listened to people who said that if you were to start something, you need a team. And I've gone and solicited teams. I've dated and courted. But somehow I never kind of got to the altar. They fell by the wayside. They looked good when I met them. They sounded good, but they weren't the appropriate partner. And I look back today, I was in a meeting and I mentioned I've probably wasted 4 or 5 years courting people that wouldn't commit at the altar to the endeavor that I felt so passionate about. I wish I had just done it. I had the vision, I had the passion, and I should have taken that energy and just done it instead of wasted my time courting these people who would never, ever, ever commit. Thank you, Madam Table Topic Master.
Thank you, Norman. On the same theme, what is one thing that you regret doing? What is one thing you regret doing that you wish you hadn't done it? Lorena.
Thank you. Regrets. I don't have a lot of regrets. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, but I don't regret any of them. I've learned from my mistakes. The mistakes I've made, sometimes you could see the logical outcome of the behaviors. Sometimes you couldn't. But either way, I found myself in a position at the end of it all that I've learned something, that I've grown, that I've had fun. Overall, I don't have any regrets. When I look back, I probably wouldn't change a thing. So back to you, Lori.
Let's do one more
Alrighty.
with Table Topics, Master. One more.
Okay, great. Still on the same topic, what is one thing that you wish someone else would have just done it or just done? Something you wish someone else had just went ahead and done. That would be Jim 5. I think it's JILN 5_000. Are you participating? Yellow hat. Maybe not.
I think he's working on it. The unmute button's the lower left-hand corner.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
There we go.
I can. Repeat that again. Say that again.
Sure.
Repeat the question.
What is one thing that you wish someone else would have just done?
Well, I think that with someone else, when I was growing up, if I had a mentor, really a good mentor, that would have led me in the right direction as far as growth, instead of having to hit and miss throughout life. And I feel like I was going in one direction and everybody else was going in another one because I never had a mentor. And I think that if I had a mentor, I would have been a lot better. That's it.
All right, thank you. Mr. Toastmaster, is that the end of the table topics?
Yeah, let's keep this ball rolling and get into our anxious evaluators who are going to evaluate our 3 speakers tonight. Our first evaluator is Lois McGolan. She's going to evaluate Adrian's speech.
Point of order,
Lois?
Mr. Toastmaster, point of order.
Yes.
For vote counting on table topics participants,
Please, yes, or else it's going to be extremely difficult for me.
2 folks did not qualify, so we only have 2 that did, so I don't think we should vote for table topics speaker tonight.
Okay, I wasn't sure we had table topic winners. I thought it was just speeches and evaluators, but that's okay. We'll just pass the table topics.
Thank you.
Mr. Toastmaster, I'm junior evaluator for the day.
Yes. You want to introduce the evaluators, Rolando?
Yes.
Okay, Rolando is our general evaluator. Go ahead.
Thank you, Richard. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. This is the general evaluation period, the most important portion of the meeting. And it seems like Richard is doing a good job as far as keeping the timing on track. I'm going to try to keep up with him. This is where the speakers learn what they did well and what they can improve on. Mr. Timer, can we please have the timing parameters for evaluation?
Certainly, Mr. General Evaluator. Timing is 2 to 3 minutes. Green at 2, yellow at 2:30, red at 3 minutes. And then you will hear an audible tone at 3 minutes saying you have 30 seconds to wrap up, which the audible tone is you have 30 seconds. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Lou. So our first evaluator for this evening, evaluating Adrian, is Lois. Lois, you got the floor, Lois.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. This was a wonderful speech. The world of dating. My fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests, and especially Adrian. It is speech number 3 of the entertainment manual. Make them laugh. My hands are going a mile a minute, and I'm sorry you can't see it, but this is the one time I get to be true Italian. This was a fun, lighthearted speech. We all had a nice chuckle. I think when you switched on your app and we actually got to see your screen, the screens that you were showing with the booty call and everything else, we were all just going, really? They have these apps? Swipe left, swipe right. It was very well done. You had some great one-liners in there, and I was watching the audience, and a lot of them were smiling. A few people didn't have their mute on, so we could actually see when they started laughing because they came to the forefront. So I know everybody was entertained. What could you have done a little bit different that might have taken this speech to a stronger platform? When you shared your screen, we were all looking at your apps, we were having fun with your apps, and then you were trying to show us your phone while we're still sharing your screen. You didn't really get to see your phone very much. So beware, if you want to show us your phone, you need to stop sharing your app. I will tell you one thing, I think 90% of us that are in a relationship for any length of time totally appreciated our spouses. I know I met my spouse when I was in high school, still with him for a number of years, and it made us appreciate not having to go through the horrors of dating. What I would have possibly have done a little bit different is I would have set myself up with the jokes a little bit more. For instance, you talked about, you can tell a lot about a person from their zodiac sign. Give us an example. For instance, I'm a Gemini. I once dated a Capricorn. Now, Gemini is fun. They like to talk. They like to do things spontaneously. Capricorn is very well planned out. There is no spontaneity. They know exactly what they're going to do day after day, and that could be frustrating. So give an example of what happened to you one day, or somehow bring us into your personal life about the horrors of the world of dating as you see it today. You talked about the third time then you have sex. Bring that into it going, seriously, is that what this world is coming to? I would just try and put more of a personal twist on it. My ending would have been more on, oh, the horrors of dating. I hate the world of dating, but I won't give up because I know Mr. Right is simply a click away. Overall, I love the speech. I just would have made it more personal so that we could have felt your emotions. Even if you took one dating example and ran with it, I think it would have brought us more into your world. Great job. I will send you your evaluation tomorrow. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Lois. A wonderful evaluation. What she did well and what she can improve on, and the positive note. Our second evaluator tonight, evaluating Graham, is Norman. Norman, you got the floor, Norman.
Mr. General Evaluator and fellow Toastmasters. And Graham, I really enjoy stories, and this story was very engaging. It captured our attention, and we followed you. You use excellent vocal variety in taking narratives. There were two voices and a narrator's voice. You changed your pitch and your volume. You were animated. Your excitement really came through in your speech. I think it was appropriate and it was engaging, and we followed it. If I were to suggest that there were some things that you might want to consider, when you were speaking, you were using your hands, which probably would have been good if I were seeing you face to face, but I kept seeing hands come in and out. I'd see part of the gesture and not the entire gesture. So instead of being a natural enhancement of what was happening, it was like, what was that as it came in and out of the frame? Also, you were excited. You were moving. You were fast. I think it might have been more effective if you had slowed it down and paid a little more attention to the pregnant pauses. But it was engaging. It was great. I enjoyed your speech. I enjoyed the story. And I really look forward to hearing more from you. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Norman.
Thank you, Norman. Another great evaluation. Our third evaluator tonight, evaluating Carol, is Mahi. Mahi, you got the floor, Mahi.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and Coach Carol. That was quite an engaging speech on the future of online training. It was very well aligned with the interest of this club, and she had started off stating about the research that she had done by launching the survey with a couple of the fellow Toastmasters here, and she called out the reasons so very well, aligning to how we want to go forward with. So her speech was well organized, and she led us neatly to the future model that she wanted to talk about, so which was quite impressive, and which kept me thinking, oh, what's coming next? So she's going to be spontaneous, I guess, in the next maybe speech that she might do with her model. So that was very well done, Carol. One thing that I felt was, while we started off with a speech, we are looking for the timer. So maybe before we start the speech, if you make sure that the timer is in your view, so you might save a couple of minutes over there. And one other thing that I found was, one of the slides, although the visuals were pretty well organized, one of them was like an eye chart where you were actually leading to the model itself. So I felt you could have just taken off those boxes and then showed how you led to that second slide that was the the model that you wanted to showcase. So overall, it was an excellent speech, and I'm so happy that I was able to evaluate yours. Thank you. Back to you, Orlando.
Thank you, Mahi. 3 great evaluations. Please vote for your best evaluator. Please vote for the best evaluator. Send your vote to Magda.
Point of order. We had only one evaluator qualified, 2 did not qualify.
Okay.
Unless we're just, I don't know how it works in our club if we're going with whether you qualify or not. Mr. President, is there a consensus on that, or I never heard any rules.
I'm sorry, you have to tell us who qualified then in terms of time.
Lowest qualified, Norman and Mahi did not qualify.
Okay. Were they over or under?
Oh, you know what? Actually, maybe I should. The 30-second deviations in either direction, right?
Right.
The 2 minutes, so it could be 1:30. I apologize. Everyone qualified.
Okay.
I think it's only with table topics that you have to go the minute, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you, Lou.
Sorry.
Can we please have the report from the accountant, Lorena? Lorena, you have the floor.
I'm here. Thank you. I just had a little trouble finding my unmute button. Counter. Adrian said once, so once, and twice there were some extra words at the start. One sentence started with now, and one sentence started with so. And that's getting a little bit picky because there wasn't a lot to pick out. Carol, you did a really good job, even right through your technology hiccup. You had only 2 little slips. You said "so" wants to start a sentence and "all right" wants to start a sentence. And those were even borderline, maybe filler words, but they could pass for not filler words as well. Lori, I heard you say "so" at the beginning of one sentence, but other than that, everything was great with table topics. There was a couple of "uhs" in Cerie's talk about why you'd like to be a new member. Jalen, there were 2 "uhs" in there, and Mahi, you had 1 in your evaluation. And if I was counting myself during this little talk, I'd probably count quite a few "uhs" and "ahs" and "ums" because I heard them myself. So back over to you.
Thank you, Lorena. Can we please have the report from the grammarian? Chris, Liz, Chris.
Okay. I heard lots of lively language. I did not hear anything to point out that was incorrect. The word spontaneous was mentioned by Adrian and Graham and Carol and Lou and Mahi. I really liked Adrian's phrases that world of dating has been exhausting. Booty shake, I know that's not actually her word, but I got a kick out of it anyway. I hadn't heard that. And describing a man as a fabulous dreamer. Graham's lively language was when he was being a mouse and said squeak, squeak. Ascending to heaven, let go of his shell, poof. And he probably says this word all the time, but I find it lively, crikey. Carol, I loved how she started it, that she has something on her mind. Battle of technology and rocket science. Lori said a phrase that's a favorite of mine, actually, finding your own voice. Norman talked about dating and courting team members, but never getting them to the altar. And Lois mentioned how Mr. Right is simply a click away. Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Chris. Can you please have the report from the chat monitor, David?
We can. We had a lot of lively discussion about Adrian's speech. You've been nominated to take that somewhere as a humorous speech. We could think that could be a good one. We also had a great story from Jim Dent about how when he's been traveling too much on business, his kids make sure that he takes his wife out on a date, that he knocks on the door and brings her flowers, does the whole romantic thing. So his kids are making an honest man out of him. So that's wonderful. There's a lot of other discussion in the chat. You can save it if you want to review it later.
Thank you, David. Can you please have the report from the watcher, Jim?
Okay, Mr. General Evaluator, I saw quite a bit of good form here in the way people have their setups. I think lighting is important as well as sound. A lot of you guys have the headsets, and that's good. Framing yourself in your camera can be very important too. Adrienne has really nice framing, close up, good lighting. It's a shame that she didn't get the screen sharing sorted out while she was doing the speech. Anyway, I like the way Graham used the Buddha and the green screen. Lori's blue screen, I don't know how you're doing that, but you're just like sitting in front of that. Lois never did get her camera working. I don't know what that's about. But there's a lot of good lighting and certainly good sound here, at least from what I can see.
30 seconds.
Okay. I really enjoyed it tonight and glad to be back, Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Jim. Lou, can we please have a quick timer report?
Yes, Mr. General Evaluator. Speakers, bear with me 1 minute here. Speakers, Adrian, 7 minutes, 11 seconds. Graham, 7 minutes even. Carol with an E, 7 minutes, 25 seconds. Evaluators, Lois, 3 minutes, 5 seconds. Norman, 1 minute, 35 seconds. Mahi, 1 minute, 45 seconds. Table topics, Shri with 1 minute, 6 seconds. Norman with 1 minute, 26 seconds. Lorena with 38 seconds. And Jaylin with 36 seconds. I'll go even through the roles. Lorena with counter, 45 seconds. Chris Grammarian, 1 minute, 30 seconds. Jim as watcher, 1 minute, 11 seconds. Dave as chat monitor, 45 seconds. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Lou. As part of my general evaluation, the meeting started on time. We have 3 great speeches and 3 great evaluations. And everybody, a lot of people was able to include the theme of the day on the speech and the word of the day. And so overall, the meeting was great. And so we can end on time. Let me send it back to our Toastmaster, Richard. Back to you, Mr. Richard.
Thank you, Rolando. How about a quick report from Magda? Did we keep track of who got the most votes for Best Speaker and Best Evaluator?
Thank you for remembering me. The best speaker is Graham, clear majority, and the best evaluator is Lois. Congratulations.
Great job, everybody. In the interest of time and keeping this train on the track, I'm going to turn this back over to David to take us home.
Okay. I'm going to take a moment just to go over the agenda for next week. Let's see. I'm trying to share my screen. And are you seeing the sign-up form or not?
Yes.
Yes.
You are. Okay. I'm sorry. So something wasn't quite working there for a moment. I want to mention we do have a speaker opening for next week. And I think we had some people who are trying to get on the agenda because people have been booking the speaking slots a few weeks in advance. So is there anybody who hasn't had a chance to speak in the club who would like to grab a speaking slot for next week? So, who was asking me about that? I think one of our folks who may have well, Christian, I thought you were trying to get a speaking slot soon. Were you interested? Not yet?
No, I already have enough speaking slots in my other clubs. I'm looking for evaluation slots.
Okay, well, you are in luck because we need an evaluator for next week as well. So
all right.
Let me put you down as an evaluator for next week. We do not yet have a Toastmaster of the day either. So let's see. Actually, I need to get you in the system, but note it down here. Let's see. Can I get somebody to be Toastmaster of the day for next week? Who hasn't tried that yet? Who would like to? So, Lorena, would you like to try doing Toastmaster of the Day?
Unfortunately, I am away next week. It's Labor Day, and we have a holiday, and just can't do it.
Well, okay. We didn't make provisions to not meet on Labor Day, so I guess we're meeting on Labor Day. A few people have booked roles, so I think I'm going to a picnic during the day, but I'll be around in the evening.
Given that some of North Americans won't be there, if you like, I'm happy to step into either Toastmaster or General Evaluator because I'll be here because it's just an ordinary Tuesday for me.
There we go. Well, let's make you Toastmaster of the Day. And you can help Dragoon and some other folks to fill in these roles over the week. Do we have any other volunteers, or are we going to have to press people into service over the course of the week?
David, I'd like to speak if possible.
Okay, I'm sorry. Who was that?
That's Norman.
Norman. Yes. Okay. Let's put you down as in that other speaking slot, and please just fill in your project when you get a chance.
Will do.
You know what, David? I did not realize that was Labor Day. Go ahead and take me off the speaking slot. Let somebody grab that. If I am able to make it, I'll just grab one of the open roles.
Okay. Let's do
Because
that.
I don't want to commit on the holiday.
Yes, no, you're right. You should have been more conscious of that. All right, well, let's leave it at that for tonight if we're a little bit after the hour. So thank you, everybody, for coming this evening, and have a great week. If we don't see you on Labor Day, have a great Labor Day. And if we don't see you on the next regular Tuesday,